Yesterday I was actually going to talk about the whole Capcom DRM sort of thing and try to get my 2 cents on it, but I didn't necessarily do it, mainly because I didn't necessarily know if anybody was curious or wanting to hear anything about that. But then when I watched Mugen Lord's video about the situation and saw a post that he made about it, I felt kind of compelled to talk about it, mainly because it's not just about the whole thing with the Capcom side of it and the whole modding stuff, but it goes way further than this on every sort of level with every sort of company, and I feel like it's something that you should listen to. Keep in mind, I'm not going to show any, Capcom mods in this video because a lot of that stuff, when it comes to it, is starting to get taken down by Capcom itself and potentially could give you a strike, and since we have already dealt with that situation already, I'm not trying to get hit with any more nonsense, so that's just how it's going to be. I know it sucks, but that's just going to be it. So when it comes down to things, why is this such a big important idea? What is the main start of it? Give me the tack, right? So when it comes down to things, they're going to start implementing DRM into their backlog of games, which basically is aka short for, oh, we're gonna basically start disabling, removing ways for people to put mods into the games and cheats into the games and things of the sort, right? And there's plenty of reasons why somebody could think that Capcom is doing this, and it's understandable to think, it might be some logical side to it, but let's keep it a stat. We all know why it's happening. It's due to the fact because of the damn Chun-Li incident, where someone had a new mod on during a tournament, and essentially Chun-Li's big old titties and ass is just straight up out there for everyone to basically see. And yeah, that was a crazy thing, and while everybody was laughing at it and everybody was memeing it up, I was like one of the only people who was like, I feel like this is going to be a bad thing that's going to hit us in the worst possible way, and lo and behold, what happens? It hits us in the worst possible damn way, because now this is happening. So now the question kind of comes down to as, is this really that deep and that important? Absolutely, because now it's basically rubbing shoulders in the wrong way with everyone, because now people can't necessarily put in certain mods for their games, not just nude mods or anything of the sort, but like mods that actually help your gameplay experience, or mods that basically help fixes the game in certain ways that maybe Capcom didn't even do, or things of the sort. Mods are important, right? Nude mods are like 20-25% of the modding stuff, right? It is. But when it comes down to things, you also have other good mods where, you have people maybe making stuff for the characters or making extra costumes or whatever, however they do things. And it's very much something that keeps games alive for a long period of time. It gives reasons for people to continue playing the games once, support for it is basically done and dusted. And it's just so important just to keep it around for a sense of community as well with those games, right? With along everything else with shipping and all that sort of stuff when it comes down to it, their basic community stuff. But what really sucks about this whole situation is that Capcom is really just trying to diss the hell out their community for being creative, for doing all this sort of stuff, and they're gonna punish you for basically everything of the modding side of it by basically forcing you to buy their product in a way where you can't necessarily do anything to it, right? And it's really shitty to change something that I bought and essentially try to, use it for whatever way you want to use it for, right? Don't get me wrong, you made the IP, you have the, creative stuff for it, and, you create that part for it, right? And that's understandable. But once I buy a product, my shit shouldn't have to be drastically changed or altered in a way. Like, once it's in consumer hands, it should be kind of a done deal, right? And this is not just a problem for Capcom. Like, last year we talked about the Skullgirls incident where basically there was changes all throughout the game because of the damn company that it was under, where they had, concept art gallery removed completely, where it was their day one from the game. Then you also have basically, the panties and stuff being changed to certain characters, even though the game is literally made from the community, by the community, which wanted that sort of stuff in the game. So changing that is a bit of a dick kick, honestly, but also changing story elements and symbolic stuff like, Big Bang being beat up by police people because they're corrupt and stuff, and they changed it because they thought it was about race, when that's not the whole point of it. It really even wasn't even a part of it, honestly. and changing the egrets with their symbol, and thinking that it's some crazy Germany style nonsense from back in the day when it's not even that, right? And now they just look like a random gang of people that don't matter, honestly, and a whole bunch of other stuff when it comes to it, right? It's just not great when a game changes the stuff that you have, and you bought all that stuff like a long time ago, only for that to basically be like, nope, you don't own that no more. You don't have the rights to do anything, right? And then to even go a little bit further, it's not just necessarily in gaming. We have that stuff all across the market of just anything that we like. Like even anime, with how people have talked about the AI translations and stuff like that, and how that's going to be implemented in certain fields of anime shows and stuff like that. And crazy ass people talk about how they translate it normally and what it is for English side of things, even though it's a terrible translation. It's been like that for literal years, and it's just again another scenario of you're basically watching something and you're enjoying that product for what it is, only for something about it to be tweaked in the direction that you didn't want it to be tweaked in. And it doesn't make any kind of sense. They're basically forcing you to like or dislike certain things that they're putting their 2 cents into, when that shouldn't necessarily be, what should happen, honestly. When I'm watching an anime or reading subtitles, I don't want to necessarily see some bullshit agenda language when I'm just trying to understand why the cat over there is having a very good time in the damn show. That's what I basically want to understand, not something about the patriarchal or things of the sort when it comes to your sexuality or stuff like that. That's not what I came here for. That's not what I came here to listen to or watch, honestly. And that has been like an occurring thing over the years recently, and even more so back in the day, when it comes down to just what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable, and it's just a boatload of nonsense. What all these big companies and corporations are basically doing is controlling literally everything that you have. And it's so strange, especially when it comes to digital purchases, because they want to basically start phasing out the physical media stuff, and then yet you do that, and then now we basically are at the whims and mercy of every single corporation ever. And it's just not necessarily something that's like a positive thing. It's why people should try to preserve physical media of games if they can, and try to bring a real importance to it, because at that point it's a digital monopoly. No one owns anything, right? It's gonna be like the whole Discovery thing when it comes to Sony removing that whole thing, even if you bought it, and essentially try to take it from your library. They try to put it back later, but still, nonetheless, it doesn't necessarily fix the whole problem, because that means, oh, so at any moment of anything I bought online ever, literally, if it's not physical, it's gonna be removed. It's literally just like some NFT nonsense, except on the worst possible way. So when you're seeing this whole thing when it comes to Capcom and the whole new mod situation, just the modding scene in general, it's not just about the new mods, it's about every type of mod. Because what, is every other company gonna start doing this shit too? And start basically trying to downplay everybody that makes mods as well? Because I gotta tell you, that's a bad move and a bad call, to keep it very much a stack with you. Because it really just hurts your profits, and it hurts your fan base. Damn what your, sponsors and things want, because they will always be there, and they're always going to try to do some nonsense against people. And at the very end of the day, sometimes, a good chunk of the time, your audience that do mods to those games is sometimes what get people into wanting to play those games and stuff. Community brings shit together. If Capcom literally made a game and no one bought it, you think Capcom is gonna be in a good position? It won't. I promise you it won't. Because people literally thrive to make your stuff work. It's like being a YouTuber. You can't necessarily sit here, be a YouTuber, and say, oh, I made it, or I'm doing good, and have 0 subscribers or no interaction at all when it comes down to your channel. It's just stupid, and it's impossible, and people should really start treating people like actual people and not numbers, and with respect, not necessarily trying to treat people like crap and then just say buy our shit anyway. That's not how you sell things. It's not how you get people to be thinking that it's going to be all good and rainbows, only for you to find out that you just got railed really hard by your own audience and yourself, honestly. So that's essentially what you have going on. And not every company is not like this, especially when it comes to modding, because Sega is actually pretty nice at, mods and stuff too. Because at least for the Sonic side of things, they don't necessarily mind people making mods. People made mods for this Sonic Overclocked, for Sonic Forces. They've done things with Sonic Frontiers, like putting Shadow into the game. They did a lot of stuff. Hell, even the leaders of Sonic Team even recognize the talent that's in the damn field of the fans, and they want to even learn from the fans, which is a cool thing, but a very messed up thing, because they should not be trying to learn anything from the fans. They should be making something that, the fans can't replicate easy, or anything like that. And that's like a big thing that honestly should be discussed as well. But, point is, Sonic Team and Sega, they don't hate people making mods as long as you're doing the right thing by not necessarily profiting off of it, even though that's the whole discussion. But still, nonetheless, they don't mind people making mods. They welcome that shit, right? Even if it is a nude mod, they're not gonna say anything about it unless, potentially maybe it's like a Capcom type of situation. But hopefully, I believe Sega will have the right mind to not necessarily knock off the entirety of the modding side of, their whole fan base and stuff like that, right? Even if it's just that one thing, I'd rather have it be the one thing that gets kind of canned versus literally the entirety of, the modding scene for a whole company. That should be something that I guess should be looked at in that sort of way, right? And the thing is too, if we have to go focus on new mods, we talked about it before, and I just said new mods are fine, but for me personally, I was just finding them a distraction because I'm going to be looking at the titties all day. But when it comes down to it, new mods are fine. It should be fine. Keep in mind too, Capcom, you are literally a company that made someone like Chun-Li, made people like Juri and Cammy, who are by far arguably one of the most sexiest fighting game characters of all time, generationally speaking as well, right? Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of other good female fighting game characters too, like your Vikings, your Ramlethals, and your Reikos, and all the other people. But when it comes down to things though, you cannot necessarily sit here and deny that these are like iconic characters at this point, right? They kinda are. And when it comes down to it, it's not surprising that someone is having the hardest boner over, Chun-Li, or Juri, or Cammy, or whatever, right? At this point, it's to be expected, right? It's like saying that, oh, for Final Fantasy VII, no one is allowed to do anything crazy with Tifa, even though people are going to do things with Tifa. The very first introduction I had to Tifa was not just Kingdom Hearts, but an actual animation of Tifa giving you a Paizuri. If you know the one, you're cultured. But when it comes down to things, you can't stop people from making that sort of thing, even if it's wrong or even if you don't want to see it. It is what it is, right? And the thing is too, people are not making this shit trying to ruin your company. They're making it for themselves to enjoy their time with the game, right? And yes, when it's on a public scale like that, yeah, you might need to crack it on the head with these people, being careful using certain mods, but it should never really beat the shit out of your entire fan base with it though. That's like a huge thing that kind of comes down with it though. People are going to make mods of Tifa getting naked as hell in Final Fantasy VII, and they're going to do it in reverse, so be prepared, Square. And people are going to do that shit when it comes down to Street Fighter, when it comes down to that game as well. And they're already having some nice time with that, as we previously seen. They're going to do that for Kingdom Hearts. They're going to do that for GTA if they want to. They're gonna do that for Batman. They're gonna do that for every other game under the sun that can be modded will be modded, right? It's literally a rule of the entire internet. If it exists, there will be content of it. In that sort of way, it is what it is. It is the rule 34. And also, you gotta realize too that it is a part of art, and if we're gonna pull this rule, art is for the interpretation of basically anybody. So if someone wants to think that Chun-Li is a sexy officer lady that wants to get down some crazy stuff, then they're probably going to put that into, whatever they're working on, whether it's a fan fiction or fan work or whatever, or mod that into the game just to kind of satisfy their own needs because that's what they want to do. They're not necessarily profiting off of it, so why are you getting pissy and mad? I don't necessarily understand. Right? And again, it's not necessarily like, oh, we're trying to, ruin the shit out of this one company. It's not even like that. you just have to basically just be like, yeah, okay, for the person that did the new mod, the tournament for Chun-Li, let's just go ahead and maybe just ban the guy from the tournament, or like, get on the necks of that person and the tournament people that kept the stream up going or whatever. The thing is, when it comes down to that whole incident with the Chun-Li thing, if you just got onto the person that did it and used it in the tournament and the people that were streaming the tournament, I guarantee you no one will be mad. If you just did that, no one will be mad, because at the end of the day, it's like when people are trying to accuse people of being a certain way, or using, or being like a murderer or whatever, because they play GTA 5 or whatever the sort, and they be like, oh, they're gonna basically go body somebody in real life because they played the game. Not necessarily. They chose to play the game, and if they decide to do something like that, then it's raps. It is what it is, but it's not necessarily on the game's fault because they had a choice. Same thing with the new mod. They chose to put the new mod into their game, which means that it was their choice. The mod is there just for it to be used, right? It's just there for people to just put it into the games to enjoy a naked Chun-Li or a naked Jury or whatever, and that's essentially it. They're not necessarily trying to have it to be like, oh, this will ruin Capcom. No one's here for that shit. They're just here to have a good time, to be horny at that same time for some reason. And that's essentially what it goes down into, It's not anything super crazy like that. And it's just so, again, annoying when you see companies and people in general just be like, oh, if one bad thing happened, everything must be canned. Not necessarily. There's people that can do really good works with mods. And if you have seen what the work has been done for Capcom versus Marvel 3 in the modding scene for that, that's insane for what they're doing, right? And any other game could be said for that as well. So it's just another thing where it's like, this is unnecessary as hell. It doesn't necessarily need to be a thing, yet Capcom is making it a problem itself and trying to ruin themselves in the process. And it's all because a company is telling you what you want versus what you actually want. And that's like another thing as well, right? No one was, unfortunately, impressed with the whole your collaboration with Street Fighter. People are clowning on that because people of the modding scene know they could do a better job, and they have done a better job. There's footage of it out there. They've done a better job at making the character look like and look better than what Capcom decided to do. Which we can also blame this on California, because obviously California is trying to take over literally everything, and it's ruining all the stuff that we actually like, right? And it's probably the reason why we have so much damn realism in games now, when making stuff that looks fictional or anime-esque is not necessarily a problem. And don't break your damn bank off of the game that you're trying to make, right? You don't have to make every game look realistic. You just don't. But again, that's California, that's their thinking, and that's just how it is. Same way with them basically trying to censor things that you might like and stuff of the sort. Because, and again, you might not necessarily care for this game, but this was a big catalyst that kind of started a lot of nonsense when Senran Kagura got censored for the first time. And basically, people were kind of freaking out about that. No one really did anything. And now that just basically gave everybody the go-ahead to just be like, you know what, we're going to censor all these type of anime games and stuff like that. And again, doing something for you that you didn't ask for, nor did you want to see. And that's, again, a very frustrating circle. You get what we're trying to say, basically? These companies are essentially just being like, we decide what is for you. We know that you're probably like a 21-year-old adult playing this game that's, you're obviously mature for, but man, we don't think you can handle a bit of nipples in your games. We don't think you can handle, a bit of titties in your games. Wait, you're an adult and you're playing anime games? We don't think anime games should be sexualized. The anime is for children, Even though it's something like Berserk, that's also for children, right? Here, we'll put this extra bit of steam or light into your game, and, you can't do anything about it because this is our product. And hell, even if you think that's a bit whack, well, we'll just reduce the bust size of certain characters and change certain things up, because we own that game. You may have bought it or you may have downloaded it, but that doesn't necessarily mean shit. We own that stuff. And that's the giant problem, and why people go to mods or go to other things, because they don't necessarily want to be bogged down by a lot of the stuff that these companies are trying to change. Why do you think no one really cares for ESG and a lot of the modernisms and stuff that we have today in gaming and wants to go back to those old times? Because it wasn't about that back then. It was about making products that you liked, that you enjoyed. Why do you think WWE 2K is actually ass now? Because they miss what they had back in games like Here Comes the Pain, or Just Bring It, or, you know Your Role, or No Mercy, and all that sort of stuff. Those games were fire because they knew what they wanted to do. They wanted to make money, yes, but also give you the soul of what that game was, right? Now, it's not that. Now it's just like, let's make the most realistic wrestling game of all time, and then just, deal with it, whatever the hell happens, and then close off the internet when it comes to a few years after the game is done. And it's like, dude, that's not what anybody wants, and it's so annoying. Or they decide to basically be like, yeah, let's draw DLC and then make it expensive as hell, even though, which I'm gonna assume a lot of people that do play games are in a climate of being in the middle of the road of where they live economically, which is like, not necessarily making a lot of money, kind of in itching towards the poverty line. As someone that is in that position, I can definitely say that. And when it comes down to things, it's just not an easy way to escape it. The only thing that I really have for myself outside this channel would be like drawing and gaming and stuff as well. But here's the thing, I don't want to pay $70 for a game when it's already expensive as hell. I don't really feel like, trying to pay $70 for a game only for that shit to basically be cut up and essentially, chopped and messed up in every sort of way because of these companies want to change something, right? And it's already expensive as hell out here with no type of relief. It's not necessarily great, especially in the state I live in. It's just not a great time at all when it comes down to it. But here it goes again, modders coming through. Oh, you basically paid for a game and they took out a certain costume that maybe you wanted or you liked. Here you go, an extra set of costumes that you could just mod into your game and all sorts of stuff. The thing is, these companies are pissed at modders because they can do their job better than them. That's really what it comes down to as well. They're mad that they can do better stuff, create better games, and do things that is better than them. And then at that point, it's like, well, if companies are gonna pull this nonsense and they're gonna do that sort of thing and try to tell you what you want versus what you actually want, then why in the world don't we make our own shit? Why don't we just go full indie and just enjoy the stuff that we make? Obviously, money and things of the sort is a problem, but let me tell you this just straight up. If I had, a stable income or, enough money to not worry about things monthly anymore, I would go super hard on making this channel the best channel I could possibly make it, make better content in the way I want to make it. If I had like a sponsor or anything like that, I would definitely do whatever I can to even go as far as to make Kokatsu's Story my own web series, something that is enjoyable for the people that has a like-minded mind like myself. And it would be a good, fantastic time. If I had just a nice, stable income that isn't just 500, but over that, then definitely, I could do a lot of things on this channel. There could be a lot of things that we could definitely improve on when it comes down to it. I could literally do way more stuff if I just didn't have to worry about where's the next payment coming from and where's the next set of money coming from or whatever, right? And it's just so hard to do that. And it's the reason why I try so hard to just work on this channel when I can and how I can, making things like this web series, making videos like this, and essentially just going ham at all the other stuff I want to do. You think, there's other things I don't want to do? I would like to, if I had time and had the money to not worry about things for 5,000 seconds, my ass would be more than happy to learn Japanese and try to figure that out. And go as far as to start really understanding the depths of drawing and stuff like that. And other things as well. There's plenty of stuff I would like to do. Not saying this because, I want money, but you have to survive off this shit. It's not that I want it like I'm Mr. Krabs or something, but it's just more so that if I had, money, like a lot of these OnlyFans people be throwing away at these OnlyFans women, or like how Verbal Ace literally in the last video chuck 50K into an animation like that. If I had that, I would be using that for way better stuff and way better ideas and getting things off the ground outside of, personal life stuff. But it's hard. It's hard to work on things like this. It's hard to work on a channel with literally no type of backing and no type of sponsors or anything at the sort, because, you're limited what you could do, and it sucks. So, it's kind of like, also as well, you could chuck this into the modding type of situation where if there wasn't no mods, or you're trying to basically do things on your own, you can't, because you don't have that support. You don't have that type of people that is with you, and now you're forced to basically look at, these agenda having ass people that's chucking things into your game that you don't want. You can't necessarily use your own ideas, your own characters, your own creations, your own IPs, because you just don't have that, and you're forced to look at it, right? It's kind of the reason why so many people want competition for Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation, because, they're tired of just how California is just rolling things and how things are just going. And it's never really good, right? It's never really good. And that's why it's so important to realize also, we are a group of people that like a certain thing. If a certain thing don't work out, we can always kill off that certain thing or make the certain thing better in our own vision, right? We have the talent to do whatever the hell we want to and not necessarily be slaving around by these corporate people that decide things for us. Literally. Not try to get like super crazy and political or whatever, but it's like we have more power than we actually think. It's just a matter of time if people are going to lend us an ear to group up and help us and do the thing that we really want to do. It's like if I use my own characters to make a fighting game, I would love to have that happen, honestly. And you know what? If I could just put it out there and do whatever the hell I want with it, there's a lot of crazy and wild things I would definitely put into it. Not because, I'm just trying to be like, ha, we rebel against society, but just putting in things I think would be fun and people would enjoy, at least people that has the same, again, like-minded brain like I do when it comes to it, right? And that's just kind of how it is. But because there is no backing, because, money is extremely tight in these days and how people are now, it's so hard to pull something like that off and do it successfully, right? Literally, that just kind of is what it is when it comes to it, So when it comes to it, we don't have anything but to rely on companies that, don't give us exactly what we want and kill us when we try to do things of our own creative freedom. If somebody's gonna make, something, then they should definitely try to do their absolute best to get it to work, get it to be a competition, and make the other companies try to put out their best effort and work. Because that right now is not what a lot of companies are doing, honestly. But the point is, at least for me personally, if I can just do this channel and do my job here well and get the amount of people that I need, especially for the things I want to do, and not necessarily worry about money and bills and all that nonsense ever again, I could definitely give you a newer side of things that you may have not been ready for and you may be appreciated for once that time comes. But I don't have that, unfortunately. And as far as modding and things of that sort go, because of how people being restricted towards it is, it's just basically dumbing down creative freedom and limiting what people can absolutely do. It's annoying, it's a nuisance, and as someone that fights hard for artistic expression, it's something that just isn't right, And again, if you have a sexy character, and if you have, other characters of the sort that people really like, they're gonna take that character and make fan stuff of it, whether it's a new mod or whether it's a piece of artwork or whatever. You don't think people ain't making big booty pictures of Chun-Li, throwing it back, spreading her vagina out? They definitely are. There is an existence of those, an abundance of those pictures and art pieces and stuff like that, animations or whatever. People rip the characters off your game to put them in those type of animations because they like the shit out the character, right? These are literally just things that happen, and there's not really much that you can do about that, right? And at the end of the day, again, it's not just about new mods, but it's about mods overall. There's really good mods that's out there that's worth your time looking at and playing on and using. Things that the game itself don't even have, but and never really thought about. And they just like, we'll just mod that in and just call it a day, right? We're basically doing your job for you, essentially. And then hell, you could just take those mods and then essentially be like, we'll back you up with that mod if it's good. You can do that. But again, they want to see the consumer as the enemy and not as an actual bigger, better sense for profit, right? And it's so weird. But my whole point of this is that they're basically doing this because they are getting, basically pretty pissed off that people are A, doing this better than they can, and B, essentially, maybe it's hurting their funds and stuff like that because of sponsors and stuff looking at this sort of situation with the whole naked big booty Chun-Li, right? It is what it is when it comes to it. Again, you can't make sexy characters then don't expect no sexy artwork come out of it. It is what it is. But when it comes down to it, you should really start looking at investing your time in not just, modding, but making your own shit too. If you can and if you want to. Because obviously these companies are not going to give us what the hell we want. They're going to continue to censor things. They're going to continue to basically tell us what we can't make. And then essentially they're going to control everything that we ever really have. And at that point, it's like, yeah, no, I'm just going to make the shit I make and then call it an effing day. Because at that point, might as well. So at the end of everything, you need to really realize the power that you actually have. What you can actually do as a fan. Not because you want to destroy these works that you really like. Like, no one wants to see Street Fighter actually be destroyed and obliterated to the moon. But we would like to see some competition. Or basically make something that's better in terms of gameplay and stuff that's in the game and content and all that sort of stuff and what you can and can't do, right? People have good times when they're actually playing a game when it's not focused heavy about money, but more so focused on, having the real soul of the game in there. And when mods do come out, it enhances their experiences, whether it's a important and helpful thing of the game or just a memey and sexy type of thing in the game, right? It is what it is. So at the end of everything, you realize you gotta have you basically have to realize you have more power than what you think, and these companies don't own you. You own them, but you have to realize that though. And at the end of the day, if you can, definitely just try to just make a game if you want to, and just have fun with that shit of making it. Don't look into it for money. That's because that's exactly what Capcom and everybody else is doing. Look into it for, I'm making a game that people can enjoy, or I enjoy, that hopefully people will like. And that's how you got to go into it. And again, same thing with this channel. For me personally, I want this channel to thrive. If I had the money to, not deal with the lack of it every month, I would definitely try way harder, which I am trying hard now, but I would have the time to try even harder than what currently is going on now. And that's something that really just it resonates hard with me on that side of it, right? So that's essentially all I really got to say for this one. It's a lot that kind of went into this video, but at the very same time, I guess I could call this video maybe like, I don't know, why mods are so important, or why the community of these games and stuff like this matters way more than you think, or something of the sort, because it does. But yeah, that's essentially all I really got to say for this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also follow me on the socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Cash App and Kofi is available as well. And until then, it's boy Jay signing off. Have a blessed day.